Hey there, welcome back to ARTFX Studios, and you're watching a new kind of video called bass design. This kind of videos, I'm just gonna create a bass sound from scratch. So when I start the video, I don't know what I'm gonna end up with, and I think that's a really interesting thing. I'm just gonna create bass sounds as we go. So for this first kind of video, I really wanted to talk a little bit about how powerful Operator actually is. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use Operator to create a really basic vowel kind of bass sound, and it's gonna be made by using FM synthesis. So let's get started. I'm going to load up Operator on my MIDI track that I've got right here. We're gonna start with a blank Operator preset that currently sounds like this. It's just playing a sine wave. You should hear a low sub-frequency kind of note, like that. So in FM synths, everything is called a little bit different. For instance, an oscillator is called an operator, and the pitch is called chorus. So what this does is, if I turn up the level of operator B, then that operator will start to modulate the frequency of operator A. The way everything is rooted is defined by this little bar right here. If I click it, you can see I've got a lot of different routing options. So by choosing one of those, you can define how these operators are affecting each other. The last one is obviously just like a normal synth, a subtractive synth, where you can just layer different oscillators on top of each other. But the first one, that one basically means that operator D modulates the frequency, which is another word for pitch. It modulates the frequency of operator C. Then operator C is gonna modulate the frequency of operator B, and then operator B is gonna modulate the frequency of operator A. When I bring up the level of operator B, you can start that we are starting to get some more vowel kind of character. This sounds more vowely than that. But there is something that I would like to change. To make this sound a lot more vowely, we can change the waveform of operator B to a triangle wave. Now, as you can hear, that already creates a little bit of vowel type movement. If I play it lower in pitch, it actually sounds pretty cool as well. So let's get on. On operator C, I'm going to turn that to a triangle wave as well. Now, what happens is that this triangle wave is going to modulate the frequency of the triangle wave in operator B. And that on its turn modulates the frequency of operator A. So as soon as I bring operator C up in level, you can start to hear we're getting more vowel type character. So let's group this operator to an instrument rack, because that way we get some macro controls. What I'm going to do is I'm going to connect the level of operator B to macro number 1, and I'm going to do the same thing for the level of operator C. So these are both connected to the same macro knob, and I'm going to go into the mapping mode, and I'm going to find the operator C level, that's this one, and I'm going to take the maximum amount down. I'm also going to turn the macro knob up all the way so I can hear. So now when I turn macro 1, we get that movement. So now I'm going to go to the routing options, and I want the routing to be just a tiny little bit different. I'm going to choose this third one. Now that third one, what it's going to do is operator A is modulated by both operator B and D, and C is on its term modulating the frequency of B. So we get this now, and now I can bring up the level of operator D. And that sounds pretty interesting. Now, another thing I can do is I can bring up the pitch of the second triangle wave, so operator C in this case. Let's add it to 4, see how that sounds. Let's bring it up a lot. Let's see, 20. Now I need to go into the mapping mode. So you can hear how that affects the sound. I'm going to connect this one to macro number 1 as well. Let's play around a little bit with these levels. So that sounds pretty interesting. Let's add in a note into here. Let's do that. Let's zoom in a little bit on this. And I can now start to, well, basically just dial in some modulation on this knob. So let's see. So now I have something like this, and obviously this is not good enough yet, but now I can actually just play around with this, I can see what works and what doesn't work. So let's change the routing modes a little bit, see what sounds good. So that sounds pretty interesting. I can always play around a little bit, by adding some harmonics to the sine wave to see what that does to the final sound. I still think this one sounds the best. Let's see if I transpose this up a full octave. Okay, that sounds pretty cool. That sounds like a pretty interesting bass patch. Let's connect this to macro 1 as well. Right now, it's doing that particular thing. I can... Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to unmap this from macro 1. And I'm gonna map the frequency to macro 2. And by doing that, I got quite a lot of control over what I want. I can bring this down a little bit and then bring it back up to create an interesting effect. So we're now getting a little bit more movement in this particular patch. I can play around a little bit with the resonance. And let's go to macro 1, because I hear something happening every now and then. And what that is I hear something that sounds like this. Let's see. I'm going to copy this particular part. I'm going to drop it on here. Drop it on here. Here. Drop it on there. 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 And there. Okay, let's add an EQ8 to this. And let's see. I'm gonna add the distortify rack to this. Let's see what I can do with that. Let's high pass this. And I'm going to low pass this. Now let's see, what can I add? Let's add a Sugar Bytes wow filter to this to give it some more vowel character. So what I can do is I can set this to a band reject and turn on vowel mode. Let's see, I'm gonna use this one, I think. And I'm gonna add the envelope follower. And I'm gonna add the LFO. Let's find an appropriate sounds pretty good. Let's set this to a band reject. Yeah, that's much better. And I can high pass this even further. Let's take the normal high pass. Let's set up the LFO. Make the rate fairly slow. A little bit faster, maybe. I'm just looking for good sounding vowels that sound great with this particular sound. I'm also going to take down the mix a little bit. And I'm going to add some overdrive. Let's add the LFO to the overdrive as well, just a little bit. And the envelope follower. Just a tiny little bit, you know, just to make it a little bit different. I can do the same to this one. I think that sounds pretty okay. What can we do more? Can add an EQ after the wow filter. Take out all the low end again. Just trying to sort of like find a good spot that makes this sound much better. Oh, I see that I placed all these ones outside of the rack. Let's put them in the rack like that. I'm still not totally happy with it. Let's see. Let's see. I can add camel fat. That might be cool. Let's clear the preset. That. Add a little bit of tube distortion. I can add some magic EQ. And I can add a filter. I can take a notch filter, for instance. And then I can connect the LFO to that filter cutoff with a sine wave. Yeah, sure, why not? Take the depth down a little bit. Really fast. So I'm gonna make this 1/4. That sounds pretty cool. I take the mix down a little bit. Yeah, sounds pretty cool. Of course, I'm gonna add an EQ afterwards again. Just to control those super high frequencies. So now I can add another operator to this instrument rack with just the sine wave. And I can make this one lower in pitch. Or maybe. And finally, what I like to do is add a glue compressor to the end. And that glue compressor, set it to soft clipping. And bring up the makeup gain a bit. And I can play around with the attack settings and the threshold. And that's how you create a basic vowel type bass sound in Operator. Next bass design video, I'm going to talk about how to do the same thing, but then in FM8. I'm gonna show you that FM8 is a little bit more capable of creating complexer sounds than Operator, but that doesn't mean that Operator is not a good synth. Operator is a really great synth. I could even add a little bit of detuning if I want. To this one. Sounds pretty cool. And I can play around with all these settings, you know. Pitch this up. This one down. Maybe this one down as well. This to 10. This to you see, so I can really play around. So that's how you do it. That's how you create a interesting vowel type bass sound. If you have any questions regarding this video or any other videos on my channel, then please come to my website. On the forum you can post your questions and I'll answer them as soon as possible. You can also post your questions down below this video. I'll try to get back at you as soon as possible. I'm also available to chat on Twitter if you want to have a little bit of a chat about music production, my music, or whatever you want to talk about. This particular Operator preset, I'm gonna upload it to my website. It's gonna be available for all VIP members, as all the other presets. Yeah, I hope you like this video, and I'll see you back in the next bass design video. Peace!